Pope Francis, the beloved leader of the Catholic Church, has taken his final breath, and the world stands still in mourning. From every corner of the globe, people are remembering a man who led with kindness, humility, and deep compassion. His passing did not just mark the end of a papacy, it marked the end of an era. In the hours leading up to his death, the world seemed to pause. St. Peter's Square was filled with people, shoulder to shoulder, yet silent. There was no chaos, no loud cries, only stillness, as if everyone was waiting for something sacred. And they were. They were waiting for Pope Francis's final words, a message so important, so full of love and meaning, that even in death it shook the world. Easter Sunday became the day he gave his final blessing. Though visibly weak and frail, Pope Francis insisted on standing before the people. He had spent his life walking with the poor, the forgotten, and those in pain. He wanted to be with his flock one last time. The faithful filled the square, many holding candles and rosaries, their eyes filled with tears. As the Pope appeared on the balcony, his voice was low yet steady. Every word he spoke carried the weight of his lifelong mission, a mission of mercy, love, and truth. His words reached not only those in the square, but millions watching from across the world. It was not just a blessing, it was a goodbye filled with hope and peace. After the blessing, he quietly retreated back into the palace. He met with his closest aides, world leaders, and spiritual companions. These meetings were not political or ceremonial. They were full of meaning, moments of gratitude, shared memories, and final prayers. It was clear to all around him that he was preparing to leave this world. Later that day, the Vatican halls were silent, usually full of footsteps and whispers. They were now hushed. The Pope was surrounded by doctors, trusted friends, and spiritual advisors. Though his body was failing, his eyes were bright and full of light. Even in his final hours, he offered comfort to others. He held hands, gave blessings, and smiled through the pain. Then came his final message. As the sun began to set on Easter, Monday, Archbishop Diego Relli stepped forward. The world listened as the Pope's last words were read aloud. "Christ is risen, Alleluia," the message began. "Hope does not disappoint." These words echoed around the world, through churches, into homes and across hearts. His message was not one of fear or sadness. It was one of strength, calling the world to unity. He spoke of faith, of compassion, and of the deep need for love among all people. The Pope called for peace in places torn apart by war, Ukraine, Gaza, Yemen. He pleaded with the world to put down weapons and lift up hands in friendship instead. He begged for leaders to stop using resources for destruction and start using them to help the poor, feed the hungry, and heal the sick. He reminded the world that every human life is sacred, from the unborn child to the elderly person left alone. He asked people to care more for one another, especially the weak and the forgotten. He urged the world to take care of the earth, calling it our shared home. He condemned a culture that throws away lives when they become inconvenient or costly. His words carried the power of someone who had seen the world's wounds and chose to love it anyway. He spoke gently, but with force, reminding everyone that faith is not just about church walls, it's about real life, about standing up for what is right, about caring for those who have nothing, about being kind even when the world is not. Across the Catholic world and beyond, churches held silent prayers. Candles flickered in darkened cathedrals. People cried not just for the man, but for the loss of a voice that had always spoken for those who had none. But even in mourning, there was something beautiful, a sense that this final message had not ended something, but started something new. World leaders, spiritual figures, and ordinary people from every faith and nation sent their respects. Flags flew at half-mast. Bells tolled in churches and cities everywhere. The news traveled from the streets of Buenos Aires to mountain villages in Asia. Social media, usually filled with noise and arguments, became a space of tribute and remembrance. The world seemed to agree. This man, this message had changed, something deep inside us. Pope Francis had always spoken about love, not the love of words, but the love of action. He asked the church not to hide in buildings, but to go out and meet people in their pain. He told us to stop judging and start walking beside each other. His final message reflected everything he stood for. It was filled with gentleness, yet it carried the strength to move the hardest hearts. He told us that even in darkness there is light, even in grief there is hope, and even in death there is love that never fades. His voice may be gone, but his words are not. They are still echoing across the world, reminding us to be better, to care more, to believe again. Pope Francis's last message is more than just a farewell. It is a mirror, showing us who we are and who we could be. It is a light for the path ahead, a gentle whisper that says, "Do not be afraid. Love is still alive." And it is now up to us to carry it forward.